This is for the year 1986. Plenty of the early 80s thrash metal bands were evolving. Veteran bands from the 70s were also going through transitions and major personnel changes. I'm going to start off with my first favorite band, Van Halen, with the album 5150. This would be album number 7, but the debut album to feature Sammy Hagar on vocals. Many of the diehard fans of the band either loved it or hated it. With former vocalist David Lee Roth out of the band, replacing a charismatic frontman might be a big risk. The Red Rocker Sammy Hagar is a badass on his own. With the dismissal of Roth, it did not put much of a dent in the band's career. It did in fact enhance the fan base, with Hagar's loyal followers. And this is also during the band's transition, still keeping the party going with fast tempo songs such as Good Enough, and probably one of my favorites on the album, Summer Nights. They also host a nightcap with mature power ballads such as Love Walks In, Why Can't This Be Love, and Dreams. I really dig the song Best of Both Worlds. The title's actually pretty fitting to the band's change. Then later on I found out it was about Sammy Hagar's encounter with extraterrestrials. The album overall has a very good variety of style and excellent production. My only complaint is the final mix. The bass guitar's a little bit low, but in that case, just turn up the bass and crank it loud. Another veteran band going through the transition phase, and fellow Warner Brothers label mates to Van Halen. We have Black Sabbath, and the album is called The Seventh Star, and this is the only album to feature vocalist Glenn Hughes, formerly of Deep Purple. This album was originally intended to be a Tony Iommi solo album. The lineup also features keyboardist Jeff Nichols, drummer Eric Singer, and bass player Dave Spitz. And this is the first Black Sabbath album to feature one original member, that being Tony Iommi, the only consistent member of the band. Don Arden, the band's manager, pressured Tony Iommi to use the Black Sabbath name. And when looking at the album cover, it is very confusing, saying Black Sabbath featuring Tony Iommi, when he's in fact the founder of the band. My 3 go-to tracks on the album would be Heart Like a Wheel, Angry Heart, and Turn to Stone. The album was a commercial success, despite the major personnel changes. Next we got Metallica, Master of Puppets. This would be their 3rd and final album to feature bass player Cliff Burton before his tragic death. This is probably the most pristine, high-quality thrash metal album from the 80s. The songwriting, production, and performance even still hold up to this day. And it's really hard to pick a favorite on this album, but I might have to go with Disposable Heroes, Leper Messiah, and Damage Inc. It's going to be really hard because my mood changes and I might have other favorites another day. And here's a band that's part of the Metallica family, Flotsam and Jetsam, and their debut album, Doomsday for the Deceiver, on Metal Blade Records. This is the only album by the band to feature Jason Newsted on bass, before being selected by Metallica to replace the late Cliff Burton. Jason Newsted even wrote and co-wrote lyrics to each song throughout the record. It's also hard to pick a favorite because there is no weak track on this record whatsoever. But I'm going to go with Hammerhead, Iron Tears, and Metal Shock. Newsted even plays a pretty badass bass solo in the song Metal Shock. And Jason Newsted might be the biggest celebrity of the lineup, but let's not give him all the credit. With Eric A.K.'s vocal abilities, almost par with Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, with piercing high notes and fierce energy. A very underrated twin guitar team of Ed Carlson and Michael Gilbert. Both guitar players meshed well perfectly, yet also delivered their own style. Drummer Kelly David Smith, another overlooked talent, and I wish more drummers mentioned his name as an influence. I remember ordering this on CD at Blockbuster Music back in like 1996. I ordered it with Megadeth's Killing Is My Business, and I remember when my order came in, I remember getting a comment from the lady saying how morbid these album covers look. And then her mannerisms and her facial expressions when I came to pick them up. Fucking priceless. And if you ever check out the film Sleepaway Camp 2, you will see a vinyl copy of this album inside the lair of the killer of the film, Slayer, with their 3rd album, Rain and Blood. This would be their debut album on American Records. The album was produced by Rick Rubin. In my opinion, I think this is the best Slayer album ever. But then again, Show No Mercy and Hell Awaits, sometimes they hold water to this at times, in my opinion. And yes, this is one of those strong albums where there's no weak track whatsoever. My 3 go-to tracks probably would be Reborn, Postmortem, and Raining Blood. Jesus Chavez is also a pretty good track. No, the whole album's fucking smoking. Saint Vitus, Born Too Late, SST Records. This would also be album number 3, but the first album to feature Scott Weinrich on vocals, formerly of The Obsessed at the time. Even though St. Vitus are considered a doom metal band, they always seem to have a good number of punk songs in their set list as well. The total opposite of the LA hair metal scene. Gonna try to keep this short now, we're past the 5-minute mark. So yeah, we got Megadeth, P-Cells, that would be their second album, and last to feature drummer Gary Samuelson and guitarist Chris Poland. I hope I pronounced their names right. My bad if I didn't. I find this album to be okay, but not great. But I think Megadeth got better through time, like a fine wine. An overlooked gem I'd like to mention would be Fate's Warning, Awaken the Guardian, Creator, Pleasure to Kill, Sodom, Obsessed by Cruelty. And I might get shit for this, but these are kind of hit or miss albums by really great bands. And I'm going to go with Judas Priest, Turbo, Iron Maiden's Somewhere in Time, Motorhead, Orgasmatron, Ozzy, The Ultimate Sin. And like I said, they're not bad albums. They're good albums, but I'm not going to call them great. And yeah, they have a couple great songs on them, but I think this is a time where these guys were going commercial a little bit with the times. Yeah, this is the time frame when they had to compete with the hair bands like Motley Crue. And I'll admit, I like the hair bands too, though. And that about wraps it up. And there you have it. Thank you for checking out Mean Street Journal. Until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the fucking bell. Please and thank you. Mean Street Journal is also on Spotify. And check out Mean Street Wear on TeePublic for all your offensive apparel needs.